Make Foundation has helped thousands of women who have been sexually abused find hope and healing. But how did this all come about?
A long time ago, when we had only been married for 5 months, I was diagnosed with the cancer, and I went up to the University of Utah to have all of my treatments done there. During the course of those 4 months that I lived in the hospital for my treatments, I made friends with some of the other patients, and one friend, his name was Greg, and Greg was not as fortunate as far as how his treatments went. And he would share his thoughts with me about how he wanted me to live for us both. That was an uncomfortable subject for me simply because I didn't want to see him die, and also just I didn't view myself as really somebody capable of doing something special. I was certainly happy with my life, but I was set on actually becoming a programmer because I stuttered, and so I wanted to just have it be me and the computer and not have to talk to anybody or try to do anything really dynamic.
So Shalane, when Derek was in the hospital and he was going through his chemo and he had cancer, what was going through your mind?
I knew he was going to be okay. And having that thought to hold on to was enough for me that I knew he would come home. And I'm not normally this bossy, but when he told me that he was going to be in the hospital for 6 months, I said, "You've got 4 months to do what you've got to do." And he came home 4 months and 1 day later.
He listened to you.
Yes.
A good husband.
He's a good, well-trained husband.
Things ended with my treatments and I went home, and I spent a month at home with my wife Shalane. That was awesome. I went back to get my first checkup. During that visit, I went and I found Greg, and he was down in the ICU, very sick. And I got down by his bedside and I grabbed his hand and I said, "Greg, can you please go get back to the floor one more time?" And he squeezed my hand back very strongly, and he said, "Derek, it's okay, it's okay. But you are going to do something great with your life, and you're gonna live for us both." And I finally made that promise to him that I would. I thought a lot about that promise, of course, as our lives went on, and we had a daughter. I got a job in Salt Lake, being a programmer, of course.
You did what you set out to do.
I did. I got to write code and play basketball and go home to Shalane. And during one of those basketball practices, we had a little accident. We being my head and somebody else's head. And I said, "Guys, what is the matter? Like, what happened?" And they said, "Don't move, you broke your eye socket."
They're experts, obviously.
Because they were doctors. Yes. But where I guess the story kind of gets interesting and how it ties into the foundation in some way is the surgery itself. I came back and I had that done, and to do that it was fairly extensive. But when I was coming out of the anesthesia, it was the strangest feeling because I was in Greg's room. And the thought that really changed me forever was something that came to me from God, and that was exactly, "Derek, you are right back in the same place. You're right back in this room, and you're not fundamentally any different in terms of what you're going to do with your life." And I wasn't doing terrible things with my life, but I wasn't fulfilling that promise to do something great. And it really changed how I acted, the habits that I had every day. And it was not too long after that I started a software business that I ran for a number of years, and I sold that business in 2010. And I was driving home one day and I was talking to Shalane about one woman who was now an adult who really carried a lot of guilt and shame for the fact that she had been sexually abused as a child, as an innocent child who certainly had no part in that, but carried so much of the guilt herself as though she had. And I commented to my wife, I said, "That's not fair. That's not fair. Somebody needs to do something about that." And it was almost as though I was back in the hospital room. And I knew that was it. That was the cause that we could dedicate our lives to. That was the cause that we could dedicate any wealth or blessings that we were blessed with.
And when he said that, what was the first thing that came to your mind when he was like, "Yes, we need to do something about that"?
I was totally supportive. Right from the beginning, I didn't know how we were going to do it, but I didn't care because I felt like it was the right thing to do.
If you could look at these brave survivors in the eye and tell them something, what would you say to them?
I am eternally grateful for what survivors have done for me personally. We get thanked a lot for what we're doing at the Unique Foundation, but these survivors have awakened in me a purpose that I didn't know I had. And it's a purpose that I believe God sent me here to earth with and expects me to fulfill. And I have no intentions of letting him down.
And I think the other message that I would give them is that I know that it takes courage. I know that it's difficult to confront the past, but this is more about facing the future than it is about the past. And they deserve to find hope and to find healing.
We're very big on focusing on the hope, not the horror of abuse, because they are already well aware of the horror that they've suffered through and other family members have suffered through, but we want to offer them hope.